What's going on, people of YouTube? Now, Mazda a lot of times is the brand people forget about, but that certainly has never stopped them from making excellent vehicles. The CX-5 is one of those vehicles, consistently at the top of the class, though not by sales figures. Now for 2019, Mazda is moving things even further upscale, with the introduction of 2 new luxury trims and a much requested turbo engine. Of course, we do want to give a special thanks to our friends at Paul Miller Mazda for letting us check out an upper-end CX-5. And if you're in the market for any new Mazda, be sure to stop by their dealership or visit them via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with all that said, let's see if Mazda has been able to take things to the next level. So starting out here on the outside, there hasn't been a great deal of changes. That means the attractive U-shaped grille filled in with black mesh carries over. And it is this way across all trims, even the new Signature, which does not get the metallic finish like in the Mazda 6. The lower piece of chrome frames in the standard LED headlights. Both the low and high beams are always LED as standard equipment. But if you get the Grand Touring or up, you get this fancier adaptive arrangement with the BMW-like ring daytime running lights. Finally, GT also adds in the really discreet LED fog lights. The side profile also looks pretty sleek. And then moving around to the back, it has a sporty and athletic looking rear. The taillights themselves bear a lot of Miata influence. And while every trim has this basic shape, they're not LED on the bottom 2 trims. All models, however, do come with the dual chrome exhaust outlets. Overall, Mazda did a great job with this exterior, making it look classy while still hinting at its athleticism. Now the styling's not entirely carryover from last year, since these wheels are new to the lineup. They are 19 inches with a brilliant silver finish on the Grand Touring trims, and then a dark silver finish on the Signature. Now for the lower trims, the Touring used to also get 19-inch wheels, but now it will share its 17-inch wheels with the base model. Checking out the mirrors, they continue to be body colored and power adjusting on all trims, heated on GT and up, and new for 2019, power folding on GT Reserve and up. You'll also nicely find that blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert is standard across the board. And as far as all your other safety systems, most of them come on the Touring trim and up. The base model does have low speed emergency braking, while the other trims have full speed auto braking with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, auto high beam headlights, and radar cruise control. All those safety features contribute to the CX-5 scoring the highest possible rating of a top safety pick plus from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Roof rails are available as a factory accessory on all trims. And then finally coming down to the fuel tank, it is either 14.8 or 15.3 gallons. Now I won't go through every possible combo, but with the base engine and front wheel drive, you get 414 miles of range. And with this all-wheel drive turbo, 367 miles of range. But anyways, that's it for the outside. So now let's check out all the new luxury features added with the 2 new trims. So on the CX-5, you will find Mazda's advanced keyless entry, standard on all but the very base Sport model. As you can see, this is their regular key fob, and then to get inside the vehicle itself, you just press this button on the door handle. You'll also notice the new feature of power folding mirrors this year, and that's on Grand Touring, Reserve, and Signature. Alrighty, so checking out the cabin of the 2019 CX-5. As you can see, it's still a really upscale place. Now this car does have a lot of different color and material selections you can choose from. So starting on your base Sport, you've got cloth in only black, Moving up to the Touring gets you leatherette in black or silk. Going out to your Grand Touring or Grand Touring Reserve gets you this real leather, and that's in either black or parchment. And then finally finishing up as your signature, you now have fine Napa leather, and that's in an exclusive Kentura brown color. Now turning over here to your door trim, it continues to be really upscale. So you have leather that goes all the way through here and even down here. And then all the rest of the materials are soft touch, and you do have a nice double stitching detail that runs across the top. On most models you do have a faux wood accent, though on the signature you do have genuine wood. Coming down to the windows, all four of them are one-touch automatic. Now turning to the seat, this is 8-way power adjusting on the Grand Touring and up with 2-way lumbar support. However, on the Touring, it is 6-way power and 6-way manual on the Sport. And Grand Touring and up also get the 2-person memory seating. Now checking out the actual leather itself, it is really high quality, even here on the GT Reserve. And of course, like I said, if you go up to the signature, you're going to have an even better grade, the Napa leather, which is basically unheard of in a mainstream vehicle. So this cabin has always been a really upscale place since it was introduced. And this year, it just gets even more upscale with the introduction of the 2 new trims. So every CX-5 will come with the soft touch upper dashboard, and then moving down here to the center on the Grand Touring and up, you will have this leatherette trim that runs through all of it. Moving down, we have the faux wood trim, which once again would be genuine wood on the signature. And then all these lower areas are also soft touch. Finally, here at the bottom, we do have a big swath of leather with more stitching on the GT and up, and everything here just fits together really well, and the materials are definitely the best in the class. Now to start every CX-5, just press this button. When you do, you will see the 7-inch display fire up across all trims. Now one of the first things you're probably noticing are these brand new digital gauges. This is the same as you've seen maybe in the Mazda 6, and you do have a 7-inch display here in the middle that's fully reconfigurable. So you can just press this button labeled info on the steering wheel, and you just cycle through a bunch of different things, including just leaving it as fully speedometer. And then to go along with that, on our Grand Touring Reserve and the signature, it's pretty hard to see, but we do have the head-up display. Right now we don't have any information displayed, but it will display stuff like your navigation instructions, and it looks really nice once you're up and going. Now coming back here to the steering wheel, of course we have electric power steering, but one of the nice things that Mazda does is that they include the leather wrap steering wheel even on the very base Sport model. It does have a nice feel in the hands. And then you've got your buttons. Like I said, this is for your multifunction display, as well as your traditional phone and audio controls. Over here, we have our controls for the adaptive cruise control. Mazda also includes rain sensing wipers on most of the trims, all but the base model. And then the steering wheel itself is manually adjusting. We do also have steering wheel heating, and that comes on the Grand Touring Reserve and Signature. Alright, so moving on to the interior storage portion, the CX-5 definitely excels here. So starting out over here with your center console, as you can see, you do have 2 different layers. This top part is removable. And then dropping down here, it's really deep, and you do have a nice felt lining at the bottom. Additionally, this is where you'll find 2 of your charging USB ports, the aux jack and the 12-volt outlet. Directly in front of that, you've got your 2 cup holders. The thing I really like is this really big bin up here in the front, great for just setting your cell phone or something like that. And there is an additional 12-volt outlet. Now moving back to the shifter, Mazda has kept with a nice traditional leather wrap shifter. So of course it's very easy to use. All you have to do is move back for drive, and then you can bump over to the left to shift manually here, though there are no paddle shifters. When we go into reverse, you will find a standard backup camera across all of the trims. However, to get that new 360-degree camera, you're going to have to go for the fully loaded signature trim. I believe we do have parking sensors here in the GT Reserve, but they still don't have any type of active trajectory or anything like that. And then back behind the shifter, you do have an electronic parking brake as well as an auto hold function. And then you got this really nice metal toggle to go between your normal and sport modes. Off to the side here, we've got your Mazda Connect controller. This is what you use if you're moving above 5 miles an hour because the touch display is disabled. But anyways, that brings us over here to our audio system. So let's go ahead and sample the upgraded Bose system that comes on Grand Touring and up. Sound quality of this system is excellent. I do also want to say that I really like this outline speaker up here. It's really classy looking. But anyways, moving on to your climate controls. This is the dual zone automatic setup. It comes on all but the base trim. Now it's very easy to use. All your buttons are just located right here in one easy to use place. And you know, the knobs and stuff, they have a really upscale feel, kind of look like Audi if you ask me. Now you have 3-stage heated seats on all but the base model, but you won't find the 3-stage ventilation until you go up to the GT Reserve or the Signature trim. But anyways, that now brings us up here to our Mazda Connect system, now with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So let's go ahead and take a look. Alrighty, so since Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are the big news this year, we're just going to go ahead and start off there. You plug your phone in via the USB port to the smart USB port, which is in the center console. And then when you do that, you have access to either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, like I just said. And of course, this is the same as it is in any other vehicle. So you have all the same options, like your home screen, as well as your Google navigation. So you do have Google Maps, which now has the satellite view, which makes it particularly cool. So you can zoom in and basically see right on the street where we're at here and the dealership. So you can, very detailed, and it's a really cool system. Then you just press this button to go back to your Mazda system. GT and up, you do have integrated navigation if you don't want to use Google Maps or Apple Maps. This of course has less detail, but it is still nice to have. But anyways, that's pretty much all I'm going to cover of the Mazda Connect system. However, we do have a detailed tech help video available if you want to learn more about it. A link to that is provided in the video description. Now moving on up, on the Grand Touring and up, you will find an auto-dimming mirror with built-in HomeLink universal remotes. And then also on the Grand Touring and up, you'll find this power moonroof. Now this is just your standard size moonroof. There is still no panoramic one available like some of the rivals offer. Nevertheless, it is still plenty big, and you have a windscreen. But overall, the CX-5 continues to just have a really impressive cabin. This is the most luxurious vehicle in the class. I have no doubt about that. I've been in all the rivals. And considering that this doesn't cost any more than those rivals, you're really getting a lot of luxury bang for the buck. So overall, I'm very impressed. Anyways, now I'll go ahead and hand it off to Mason, who will check out all the rear areas. Alright, so in the back of the 2019 Mazda CX-5, you're going to find a class-competitive amount of space. The technical rating is 39.6 inches of rear legroom and 39 inches of rear headroom. That does actually place it above the all-new 2019 RAV4, but it is still a little bit below the Honda CR-V. Now heading over here to the door trim, it is of course nicely appointed in typical Mazda fashion, so we do have a leather armrest with the stitching detail, and it is even stitched leather up on the very top portion, which is unheard of in this class. Now down below that we do have an automatic window, and we do also have bottle storage. Now the seat itself is also a beautiful design here in the rear, so you do have color contrast stitching, and it is also perforated. Now in the center, Mazda does fix this up pretty good, so we do have some rear vents on the touring models and above. And you will notice that there's nothing else down here, but that is because the rear seat heating controls are in the armrest. So when we fold this down, you do have a nice leather wrapped armrest, and it also has some storage in there. It's nicely felt lined, and you do also have two smart charging USB ports right here. Now like I mentioned before, we do have the 3-stage heated rear seats on the GT Reserve and above, or they are optional on just the Grand Touring. Now in addition to that, we do have some cup holders, and up top we do have some lighting. It's just your regular lighting, and you do have a nice headliner, as well as an assist grip and coat hook. Now like I said, the CX-5 comes about middle of the pack when it comes to space, so behind Drew's position I have about 6 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can easily slide up under the seat. Sliding over, even with the seat all the way back, I still have a couple inches of rear legroom. Overall, I am extremely impressed with the CX-5's rear seat. While it is still lacking the pano roof, it has all of the luxury amenities and features you could ever want, and Mazda is really good about the finishing details like the leather stitching on the top of the door. Now the rear seats do fold, of course, so you can do it from up here by just grabbing this little handle. Now it does fold nice and flat. Now you will notice that these rear seats do fold 40-20-40 split as opposed to 60-40 in most of the rivals. Now coming around to the tailgate, it does not have a hands-free function, but it is power on the Grand Touring and above. So just find the button under the lid and it opens right up. Now once inside the CX-5's rear trunk, you're going to find a below average amount of space. It comes in at 31 cubic feet behind the second row seats, and it expands to 60 cubic feet. Now like I said, that is below most of the rivals. However, for most of you guys, you probably won't notice the difference. Now if you want to fold the seat backs from back here, you can also do that. So just reach up and fold forward. And once you do, that gives you a nice flat loading floor. And down below, you do have a spare tire. Now coming over here to the passenger seat, it is nicely finished as well, and it is also 6-way power adjusting on the Grand Touring with Premium package or Grand Touring Reserve and above. Now in front of the passenger, we do have really nice materials. So you do have that stitching detail as well as some leather wrapping here. And you do also have some wood trim. And down below that, you do have a nicely sized and dampened glove box with a really nice felt lining. And above that, you do have a sun visor with a mirror and light that does also detach and does have an extension in the end. But anyway, guys, that sums up all I'm going to talk about for the rear areas. So now let's go ahead and get to the powertrain and see the real reason why you buy a Grand Touring Reserve or Signature. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk about the powertrains. So of course, probably the biggest news of this vehicle is the new turbo engine, which we have here in the Grand Touring Reserve and also the Signature trim. This new engine is a 2.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder, makes 250 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Now for the rest of your trims, on the lower end model, you still get a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, just not turbocharged. And that continues to make 187 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque, just like last year. Now Mazda has been promising a diesel engine for several years at this point, but I mean, that seems unlikely that it's ever going to make it to our shores just from emission standards and stuff like that. Your only transmission continues to be a 6-speed automatic transmission. And you have standard front-wheel drive, optional all-wheel drive on your Sport through Grand Touring, and then the Grand Touring Reserve and Signature have standard all-wheel drive. Another point to make is that your base engine has cylinder deactivation. This one does not. And its fuel economy is 28 combined with front-wheel drive, 26 combined with all-wheel drive. Now the turbo does give you a little bit of a penalty, but it's only 2 mpg combined, so that brings it down to 24 combined, 22 city, 27 highway. But anyways, that's it for the powertrain information, so now let's go ahead and take it on a test drive. I'm kind of excited to see how this car drives with this new turbo engine. So first taking off in the turbo, big difference.
Wow.
This has a lot of torque and you can feel it right from the start. This is just an excellent feeling turbo. So much torque and it just feels really powerful.
It's very shocking almost. You know, these compact crossovers are definitely not the most powerful types of vehicles. You kind of expect the same out of this, but it just does not feel the same at all as like the CR-V or RAV4.
No, yeah, I mean
it's not even close.
The mainstream rivals, you know, they don't offer an engine like this, and that's a shame. But compared to the base motor and the CR-V and RAV4, this is going to be a huge difference. Huge difference.
And it is nice that comes at the same price premium as well.
Right, the price is really no more, so you're not paying extra.
You're just getting the extra engine thrown in there.
Now just cruising along here, it really is right, it's very comfortably. My seating position is good, my visibility is excellent, and it's just really smooth cruising along. And guys, this steering is excellent. I mean, of course Mazda is known for their steering feel, and in this car it is no different. It's a huge difference once again from what the rivals have. You know, typically they're very numb and void of feel, and you can't tell what's going on. But going around a corner in this, it's so it just feels so agile and so responsive, and you can feel everything that's going on the road, and it's just a really welcome change from what you typically get.
Now there have been some revisions for 2019 to the CX-5, And the biggest one is that it now has the G-Vectoring Plus system. The 2018 model already had the G-Vectoring system, and basically what that system does is it compensates for like the body roll and stuff by modulating the engine and steering power. And basically now for 2019 it also uses the brakes, which really just helps you have a lot smoother of a ride as well as better handling.
Yeah guys, the handling, oh my gosh. You know, we're in a lot of different crossovers and a lot of cars that are boring, you know, and this is a family vehicle. This should be boring, but it's not boring. I'm really enjoying the way this drives. Just the power and the handling, it just feels like I'm in something much more expensive than I am in. Really, this reminds me actually a lot of the Audi Q5 that we just drove a few days ago. That's really a good thing to compare it to. It has a German feel to it that most of the rivals just don't go for at all. I want to talk about the 6-speed automatic transmission a little bit. You know, 6 speeds might seem like it's a little lower than maybe some of the competition that has 8 speeds. But the performance of this transmission has been really good while driving it. Shifts are really smooth, you almost can't feel them at all. And then, honestly, there's so much torque, there's not a great deal of shifting going on. You know, if you want to pass this car right here, you just put your foot down. You really don't shift the gear necessarily, but you just have that instantaneous torque to just really push you back and get you past the car. So, you know, that's very satisfactory as well. But overall, I have to say I am very impressed by the way this vehicle drives. Like I said, this feels a lot like a German luxury vehicle, and I mean that's a really great compliment, because this is just a mainstream vehicle. This, as Mason touched on, this doesn't cost more than the rivals, you know?
Nope.
Even at signature level, you're looking at about $40,000, and that is right in the same price point that a lot of rivals are at. So, you know, this really is just, this cements, the great engine cements the great value that this vehicle is, because now you've got the power to go with the handling and all the luxury. So just an excellent overall package.
Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching one of the first in-depth looks at the 2019 Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring Reserve. Stay watching for a quick overview of the pricing, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons below. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.
Mm-hmm.